Wait a minute. You like wrestling?
Of course I like wrestling. That's why I hate it.
Outlaws.
Wrestling is better than the things you like.
Outlaws. You'll take those rattlesnake fangs and you'll stick them right in my ass.
What? Middle-aged.
Outlaws.
Today I'm middle-aged.
Welcome to episode 38 of the Middle-Aged Outlaws podcast. Today I'm middle-aged. Adam, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
I'm alright, thanks. I'm alright. This feels a bit strange. We've only just recorded our last episode, and here we are again, straight back into it.
Yeah, it felt like quite a quick turnaround, but two pretty different types of things we were watching.
Yeah, you don't say. What last thing was Judgment Day?
Yeah.
To be fair, it feels like quite a long time ago that it was watched. No Iron Man matches here on what we're watching, what we're talking about today, is there?
No, not so much. Kind of different sort of feel to the whole thing.
Absolutely. So we'll just go straight in there. I have a very, very short amount of fun information from the 26th of March 2001. Is absolutely rubbish this week. So I suppose we should say, first of all, today we're going to talk about the last ever WCW Nitro that was aired on the 26th of March 2001. A very unique episode of Nitro, as obviously it's spliced in with sections from Raw, and we'll get into all that. So 26th of March 2001, I've got one piece of information, and then your UK and US charts number one. So last time we were doing Judgment Day 2000, and that was, checking his notes incredibly slowly, 21st of May 2000, and it was the film premiere at Gladiator.
Yes.
In March 2000, Gladiator won the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Okay.
And I think Russell Crowe won Best Actor at the same awards.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds just about right, I think.
That is continuity between episodes.
Yeah.
Totally meant it. So that is literally all the sort of interesting stuff, apparently, apart from all this stuff that's going down in Florida. So in the UK charts, do you have a guess? March 2001? I don't really think it'd be your bag, to be honest.
Westlife.
No. It was Pure and Simple by Hearsay.
Oh, okay.
Were they the first ever Pop Idol band? The Pop Idol The Rivals?
They might have been. Yeah, they were the Rivals show, weren't they? Yeah.
And Liberty X came out of that as well, didn't they?
I think that's right. Yeah.
So there you go. In the US, number one, I want to say, you know that Netflix documentary that we have talked about, the Woodstock 99
Yes.
one. Now, how can that possibly be if this was number one 2001? Nah, I'm off. I'm way off. It's not like Corner Limp Bizkit or anything like that, but I'm sure on the Spotify playlist that I've got off that Woodstock 99, this song is on it. But now looking at the dates, I'm going to complain to Spotify. It samples a Red Hot Chili Pepper song.
I'm not going to get this.
Nah, I don't think you are. The guy's got a lot of tattoos. It's
Not enough.
It's Butterfly by Crazy Town.
Ah, I remember that. Do you know this? March, did you say? March 2001.
Yeah.
I was just finishing being a student. I probably had about 2 months left of being a student. And at that point, I think it was all just, lazing around, listening to music, being fairly confident I'd done all my coursework and everything like that.
Nice.
And then not actually switching on to the what's next moment for life, just thinking, this is good, I'm enjoying this. And yeah, I remember that song being pretty big for a while.
Yeah, it was. So do you remember watching this episode of Nitro / Raw?
I don't.
Nah.
Like when I was living out my student days, what I didn't have was access to much good TV. I basically had your 5 channels, and that was
We're surely no suggesting that this is good TV.
access to a lot of channels, let's say. Yeah.
Fair enough. So this was your pick. So what I'm going to do is give a little bit of background to the WCW purchase, and then I'll pass over to you to take us through the episode. Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So WWF Entertainment Incorporated acquired WCW on the 23rd of March 2001, 3 days before this episode of Nitro aired. It gave them global rights to the World Championship Wrestling brand, their tape library, and other intellectual rights. Apparently some of the stuff that they received was like The Rock got one of their Nitro rings, The Undertaker got like the Thunder ring. That was, I guess that comes with intellectual rights. I wonder if they got the helicopter. I wonder who got the helicopter. Les Ferdinand, probably. What I said here, it's reported within the deal. Are you laughing at Les Ferdinand?
It took me a couple of seconds, and then I got there. Yeah,
he's the most reputable person I know that can. Oh, Eric Bischoff can fly planes, can't
he? Yeah, I think that's right.
I think he can. That's maybe not helicopters though. Give it to Les. It's reported that as part of the deal, some actors, in inverted commas, contracts will be assumed by WWF, but not by others. No, but not others. Not by others. Others.
Yeah.
So Eric Bischoff, as you probably know, was part of a media consortium called Fusient Media Ventures, who were pretty confident that they were front runners for to buy WCW. I think around January 2001. I think they had signed I don't know what the technical term for it is, but it's kind of like we get first dibs sort of thing.
Yeah.
In January 2001, Bischoff ended up phoning up Nitro the week before this final episode, and sounded very despondent and was kind of like, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, I'm really sorry, sort of thing. So the deal fell apart. AOL. I think
according to Bischoff, what they discovered at some point when they were trying to go down the route of buying it was that the TV deal wasn't going to be part of this. So the Turner Network were not going to be giving a time slot for WCW moving forward, which meant that in his mind, what they were paying for was a hell of a lot less value than what they originally thought they were getting into.
Yeah. You're stealing my WCW thunder.
Sorry.
No, not at all. So AOL, Time Warner, and Turner Broadcasting had merged, and as part of that merger, like you just said, they decided that wrestling did not fit in with the sort of future of what they wanted to show. That basically killed the deal. In advance of all this, Bischoff had been talking to different networks, trying to get television deals elsewhere, but they needed that initially to be able to get on air. So Bischoff allegedly had plans in place to take WCW off the air for around 3 months. His plan was to take them off the air and get people missing them, essentially. And he was going to launch this new WCW with a pay-per-view called The Big Bang in May 2001. The rumour was that he wanted Jerry Styles, and I've read two different things. Jerry Styles on commentary along with either Don Callis or Jerry Lawler next to him.
Okay. Was Jerry Lawler away at this point, or was he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
If you remember,
Heyman,
yeah. And Heyman was kind of just like chucked in there, quite sort of short notice, I think, along with JR.
Yeah.
That's probably one of, I think we both feel the same, probably one of our favourite lineups as far as commentary teams are concerned.
Really good. Yeah.
When it all came down to it, like I say, that all that sort of deal had fallen apart, Vince McMahon ended up spending a total of $4.2 million to acquire his closest rival. Over to you.
Now, I wonder, you think, what did he get for 4.2 million? And, some talents, which we can talk about as we go, but what great value that ended up being when an online portal for making all the shows available turned out to be.
Absolutely. I was looking at when the network launched. I think it was 2014. But I've no doubt they must even be close to making their money back on the likes of DVD sales and things like that.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Because, fine well, they'll immediately started repackaging things and trying to make money off them.
Absolutely. Okay, so here we are now. I'm sure we'll both give our opinions as we go, but I try to put myself at times in the position of some of the people that are involved in this show. This must be a pretty tough one. There's obviously a lot happened, and you've talked about it over the course of I think basically the week from one Nitro airing to the next Nitro, and basically I think thinking they're going to be sold potentially to Bischoff, and I think he's still close with an awful lot of the guys working there, and then boom, you get an announcement. Yeah, it's not going to be Bischoff, and then nobody knows. Nobody really knows, although as we go through, it's pretty clear some do know whether they've got a job or not moving forward. So you're putting some people in a really difficult situation, and I believe that the show was basically ran by WWF staff that had gone down. Obviously, we see Shane, I believe Briscoe, Bruce Pritchard, I think, are there. And there's good reason why they have a hand in some of the decisions that are going to be made through the course of the night. And some of the rest of it maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we can go through that as we cover it.
When you say you were trying to put yourself in the shoes of some of the people involved, when you got to Scott Hudson, was it just confusion?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think that's fair.
What does he want? What do you mean, what does he want?
I wondered if he was trying to sell it as some sort of angle, if they're just so tied into this way of thinking. I've got to be a little bit character and a little bit storyline, even when I don't know how I'm going to feed my family next month. So yeah, here we are. We are 26th of March, Boardwalk Beach Resort.
What do you think about that? The setting, the outdoor setting, the spring break, what looked like half the crowd didn't give a flying fuck about. This is a historical moment.
Yeah,
and people are there with their tops off, drunk. They don't give a shit.
I think it doesn't look great, but I suppose we've seen enough shows when we were watching some of the WCW content, even from '98, where it's like that anyway. So I think that to them has just become the norm, but it does feel like it should be this significant event, and you've got kind of this weird setting, this half-interested crowd, and it probably is that the talent that I'm watching and feeling bad for, because like I say, they don't know if they've got a job moving forward. Most of them don't know. The announcers clearly don't know. Um, and I was looking up some stuff about this. Apparently, when Shane's there, he is indicating to a lot of the people that we do plan to do a WCW show. It is our plan for it to have its own standalone show, and I think we've touched on that in the past,
Yeah,
where
the
they gave
infamous
it a go.
Bagwell and Booker T match.
Bagwell and Booker T, and I think they have an announce team from WCW that are actually calling that match.
Really?
But I think Schiavone's involved. I think.
Right.
And is it someone like Arn Anderson or something like that?
Oh my God! Injecting a bit of energy into it.
But I suppose that maybe folk looked and thought he's a good talker because he is a good promo, but maybe not so much an announce guy. But they don't run it in a WCW town, so it's not getting the react. People who are in that arena want to see the WWF stars. That's who they expect to see. That's who they've paid expecting to see, I think. So it doesn't really work out. But I believe Shane is indicating this to people that are there, whether that's to try and comfort them, keep everyone calm. We're assessing things. We're going to figure stuff out. But yeah, again, I'll talk through it as I go. But we've got Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson in the announce booth. Scott Hudson wasn't one I was overly familiar with. I don't think I've seen an awful lot of shows he's called. But Schiavone, obviously, kind of the voice of WCW, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've got the show opening with Vince delivering a promo, and it's imagine that, here I am on WCW TV, blah blah blah. It was just a matter of time before I bought my competition, and in its final broadcast, I'll address the fans, the superstars, and you will find out the fate of WCW. The fate of WCW is in my hands, and it's this really over the top, promo about what he's just done. It's pretty cold thinking about it. There's, like I say, people that don't know if they've got jobs, but it's all very storyline. We're heading into a Vince versus Shane match at WrestleMania, just a few days away from this.
Yeah.
The timing from a Vince point of view and from a WWF point of view is brilliant. They're on two shows, able to promote their WrestleMania basically on two different networks, which is amazing for them. But yeah, it felt like it's a real life situation that he's just using for forwarding a bit of storyline.
Yeah, that's I've written in my notes here. We're getting Mr. McMahon and Vince McMahon here.
Yeah,
the lines have never been more blurred. He's just essentially using his character to be a dick and gloat.
Yeah. And I'm sure Bischoff would have done plenty of that if it was the other way around.
I think he said the exact same. He would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah,
and he would.
Yeah, and we've got. I think Schiavone's words are, "Welcome to a landmark night in the industry. I've seen it, but I still can't believe it." All 5 WCW titles, including one I definitely never heard of before, but never mind, will be decided on this night.
Cruiserweight tag belts.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I just wasn't familiar with it at all. And we've got, like I said, WWF people basically booking the show. They're going to decide largely who walks away with the titles, and there's obviously very good reason for that. They want to put the belts on guys that they know they've got, and we'll touch on a couple of guys that they know they've got pretty soon, I think, as we go through the card. But first up, in terms of in the ring, we've got Ric Flair, who, he was in WWF for a period of time, but I think he's probably the guy that most people associate very, very strongly with WCW. So it makes sense, I think, for him to come out. The nature of his promo was probably not what I was expecting, given the amount of things that I've heard him say behind the scenes about this, because it sounded like he was pretty happy. In real life, he's obviously got a relationship with Vince, which he had. I think he knew he would get some kind of a job moving forward.
Yep. I think he'd been told. Right, I think he'd been told he was safe. Aye.
Okay. And he'd obviously had his issues with, Bischoff and people like that over time, and I don't think he felt the WCW was managed properly. But that's not the promo he's going to come out and give, and understand why it's not. He has a go at Vince McMahon, talking about the future of WCW being in the palm of his hands. He lists some former and current stars, including Buff Bagwell, and asks if Vince holds them in his hands. He says he's been 14-time world champion in what is, in his opinion, the greatest wrestling organization in the world. Flair says Vince's dad was on the board that voted for Flair to be world champ, while Vince was trying to make it as an announcer. He's going in pretty hard on Vince here. He says the war has never been about the boys; it was always about the offices. This one, Flair says Vince never wrestled an hour, cut himself 5 times, and bled for 45 minutes.
Who's bleeding for 45 minutes, Rick? Certainly, come on.
Yeah.
No.
Flair, then I think, he's going to get to the point of one of the reasons he's out here is, he's getting some good reactions from the WCW crowd. I can see why he's positioned himself as anti-WWF.
He's maybe some of the crowd. I feel real bad for him here. I feel like people are just like shouting over the top of him and that. A little bit. It's a great promo.
He says the greatest opponent he's ever had has been Sting, and he challenges Sting to a match on the last ever Nitro. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. And we hear at this point Sting hasn't been seen around for a while. But
quite unlike him.
Yeah. It gets confirmed a bit later on that it'll end up actually being the last ever match on Nitro. And that, again, we can get to it. I feel like it should have closed Nitro, but it goes in a slightly different direction. We've got immediately after that, what you thought it was a good promo? Yeah.
Can I jump in on Flair? That was a good promo. I think he must have found some of his special powder in one of his gowns, because that was like red-faced crazy Flair. He was chanting Sting along with the crowd at one point. His hair's completely unacceptable. He looks like a lead singer of The Offspring. He starts naming all these, like you said, he starts naming all these guys, WCW wrestlers, Harley Race, Jack Briscoe, a whole long list of them. And he's essentially saying, are you going to hold all them in his hand? Hold all them in your hand, Vince McMahon. I genuinely think the only one he lists that never wrestled for WWF was Buff Bagwell. It's an odd thing. I know what he was getting at. I'm just being a dick, but it was wild. I liked it. He's out here in a suit at this point. I guess you'll touch on the story about him. His gear later. Cool.
Yeah. I think they sneak in a wee Randy Savage Slim Jim.
They do. Oh yeah.
But no sign of Randy Savage on the show apart from that.
I know. That's a travesty. Oh, I've got one more thing I wanted to say about Flair. And I get this was 2001. And I get that at this point it was probably appropriate to start talking about the boys in the back, right? But I'm so fucking sick of watching wrestling promos and them wink, wink, nudge, nudge, talk about the boys in the back or, fucking give it up. We know, okay? I'm not talking to Ric Flair here, I'm talking to Richard Flair, right? That sort of bullshit. Stop it. We want to be immersed in what we're watching. We want to believe. Stop. It's not edgy to talk about the boys in the back and.
Yeah, when it first started happening, it was different. But I think now, it's done. It's done. We can move on. And
I saw a thing. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I saw a little clip there from the last AEW show, and they're doing this trios tag team titles now. 3-person. That's what trio means apparently. The trio tag team titles. Omega and the Bucks were the eventual winners of the titles on this pay-per-view. And Omega gets the camera right up to him and he says, "Boys in the back." He says something like, "Boys in the back, see if you can beat that bitch," or something like that. It's like, fuck off.
So it wasn't
Let us-
boys in the back. We're coming for a wee scrap in a locker room or anything.
Nah. I'm coming to save your dog, Larry.
Oh, so
Imagine saving someone's dog and then getting bit by something else. Anyway.
it's pretty funny. So we're moving on to the first match. It's probably safe to say, I think you touched on this at the start, that there's no really long matches here. There are probably a few that are about 3 minutes and maybe a 5 or 6 minute, but it's not an awful lot of long matches here. But what we're going to have first of all is a title unification match between Booker T, who's the US champion, and Scott Steiner, who's the world champion. I think this is some pretty clear decision making by the WWF guys here, because we're going to put the belts on Booker, and he very clearly, even before I think we get to a little promo of his later on, is going to be going to WWF. He has a job. Scott Steiner, maybe not so much. One of the things about this, when I was doing that, I don't do as much research as you, but I did a little bit. Scott Steiner genuinely believed this was going to be his last ever wrestling match.
Did he?
He didn't think they would ever sign him. At the time, I don't think he had any interest in going, Japan, Mexico, anywhere like that. I think TNA start up, was it within maybe a year or so of WCW closing, but they're not on the horizon quite yet here. So yeah, he genuinely thought this would be his last ever match.
That's amazing. He's the world champion. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got a really bad issue with his foot or his leg at this point. He's really immobile.
Yeah. It's funny because when you compare him to what he was when they were in the tag team, it's obviously a different style anyway, because he's a powerhouse here and he's put on a lot of muscle, like a stupid amount of muscle. But he used to be so agile, but I think I kind of got used to seeing him not so mobile, especially in his WWF run when they did eventually sign him.
When was that? Was that 2002? Well, it must have been now. I think it was him, Triple H at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
maybe it was 2000. Was it?
It might have been later than that.
It might have been, aye.
Yeah, but yeah, I think his view was he maybe wasn't the most popular there, and he was probably right, in fairness. So we hear a little bit of storyline that they go into, that Steiner had put Booker T on the shelf for about 3 months and bragged about it, and apparently was going through a bit of a storyline angle of injuring people, then bragging about it.
Nice.
We've got the match gets started. I've not got it written in my notes who it is. I think Steiner's always got a female Valley with him, but I don't think I recognise this one in terms of
Madeja?
I think that's the right name, yeah. Didn't really mean anything to me in terms of who it was, or whether she'd ever been a different
I think she was
character.
one of his freaks.
Yeah, okay. So I've got a little bit of info about the match. We've got Booker avoiding a Steiner line, hitting a Harlem sidekick. Booker punches to the corner, but Steiner lifts him up, power bombs Booker T. Madeja, there it is. I do have the name in my notes somewhere.
Nice.
Slaps Booker T. They fight a little bit on the outside. Steiner has a lead pipe.
Yes.
Swings it. Booker ducks. Steiner hits the ring post.
He tried to kill him!
Body's gone full. He tried to kill him.
I love that.
We've got maybe he'd been watching a lot of like JR in full storytelling mode and thought, this is how I've got to be if I want to get a job. We've got a clothesline, then a bit of flexing and posing by Steiner, then elbow drop, belly to belly suplex by Steiner for a 2.
Classic.
Steiner trying to suplex, but Booker rolling out, hitting him with a drop kick. Booker with a knee to the guts, then I've got it written, they called it a ghetto blaster. I think it was like a scissor
Jesus.
kick. Yeah, they went full on with naming his moves. Booker with a pancake, and then a spinneroonie. He brings out the spinneroonie, which I think I'd maybe thought was more of a WWF thing, but it's clearly here.
Yeah.
He clearly introduced
Do,
it beforehand.
do you know what's really unfair on Booker T? Whenever someone says the word spinneroonie, which doesn't happen very often in my life, a lot less than I would like, I just immediately think of Kane.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh on Booker.
It is.
Booker T with the Harlem sidekick. Booker goes for the bookend. Steiner reverses it into a Northern Lights suplex for a 2.
Beautiful.
Steiner goes for a power bomb, but Booker scrambles out of it and hits the bookend for the pin win. Booker is the new champion. He has both belts. And I think for anyone that was in any doubt that Booker was going to be seeking employment elsewhere, I think it's pretty clear he's going to WWF. He's selling the emotion as Booker T. I always got the impression he was a pretty big crowd favourite in WCW. They're obviously going to bring him in as a bit of a heel character. So yeah, that's our first match and our title match, and Booker's walking away with the gold.
It was nice, quick, snappy match. I really quite enjoyed it, actually.
I think that's probably the type of match that suited this latter day Scott Steiner.
100%.
I think, and I've got memories in his WWF run of him being in like quite long matches with Triple H. I don't think that was ever going to work, really.
So I wonder when that was. There must have been, what year was WrestleMania 18? That was just 2002.
So yeah.
Can it be then? I think the idea, they had the Rumble match, then they had, would it be No Way Out after that? I think they originally planned for them to then have a third at WrestleMania, but they scrapped it, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how bad the second one was.
Yeah, they weren't impressed by Steiner. So I think, yeah, as you say, I think it was going to be like 1-1 and then go into a rubber, but in the end, they just moved away from that whole plan. We're going to have quite a few backstage segments with Vince. Some of them don't play brilliantly, but
we don't have to talk about them, do we?
I'll touch on them.
Disgusting.
We've got Vince on the phone with his attorney, and he basically is just running down the area and the crowd and all that. The last
the panhandle.
Yeah. He's full heel, and he's specifically aiming it at WCW fans who are obviously seeing him all over their show. So this next match is Tag Team Cruiserweight title number 1 contender. Is it a triple? Yeah, triple threat.
Triple threat, yep.
So we've got Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman. We've got Shannon Moore and Evan Courageous.
3 count, yep.
And we've got Kaz Hayashi and Yang.
Yeah, Jimmy Yang, who went on to become Jimmy
Wang Yang?
Wang Yang?
In
WWE.
So I take it Shannon Moore and Evan Courageous are like a boy band style team. Yeah. I think
they're maybe in a faction with Shane Helms.
Right.
Are they maybe all together?
Right,
I think they maybe are.
Yeah. So we've got
Shannon Moore's best work was as a little MFer.
Yes.
A attitude follower.
Yeah, that was awesome.
He's amazing. Anyway, sorry.
I think Matt and Jeff were quite close with Shannon Moore and Shane Helms, actually.
Really?
They were all quite close. There's a lot going on. I don't have a huge amount of notes. It's one of these, these are all quite mobile guys, so there's a lot of action through the match. We've got Moore and Kidman both doing dives off the top turnbuckle out to the floor, taking out some people as they go. We've got Jimmy Yang with a nice corkscrew moonsault from the top. a 450 splash by Courageous on
Big Ev. Yeah.
Kaz, yeah, but the pin's broken up. And Rey Mysterio going for a flying move on Shannon Moore in the ropes, but gets a kick in the nuts. How did you feel seeing a maskless Rey Mysterio? Didn't work for me at all.
Especially with horns. The horns.
Why the horns?
Nah, the horns didn't work for me. Nah.
Yeah.
It's just so odd. It's just really odd. As probably haven't seen him first, and I would think I probably saw him first in WWF more than anything.
Yeah.
WWE, whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad they went with a mask.
Aye, it's odd.
So we've got basically as we're heading towards the end of the match, Shannon Moore gets tangled up in the ropes, and Rey Mysterio hits a guillotine leg drop on Moore while he's still in the ropes. So that's a pin win for Mysterio and Kidman, who are going to get the Cruiserweight Tag Title match later on this show.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
This, to me, was like the first ever AEW match. It was like, honestly, this is like a Dynamite match where just people do things that have absolutely zero repercussions, and the aim is to just be more in the air than it is on the mat. And I appreciated it, to be fair. I appreciated it, but I was like, this is crazy how much this is like watching an AEW. If there was more super kicks, I would have thought the Young Bucks were in there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, I'll move on because we are heading back to Vince. He's talking about talent on the phone, but gets very distracted when Trish turns up.
Talking of talent.
She's got a bottle of champagne, and I think Vince is acting out some of his backstage behaviours on camera here.
Sure.
It all feels very uneasy now, and it's going to get worse. But yeah,
yep.
It's this just comes across a lot worse now, and it didn't come across great at the time, I don't think. We've got the Cruiserweight title up next. Shane Helms is going to be facing Chavo Guerrero. Shane Helms is champion here. They seem to be really talking him up as we're going. They're talking about him changing the way cruiserweights are and things like that.
Yeah, like they describe him as the evolution of the cruiserweight division or something like that, don't they?
Yeah, that's the word I couldn't find in my head, and that's the exact word they used. He's got his own dancers, Sugar Shane Helms, when he comes out.
Really good theme music.
Yeah. I mean, it's great stuff. We've got, what was it? He became the superhero character.
Well, what's up with that?
Yeah, brilliant, amazing. So we've got I've got a few notes, not a huge amount. Helms with a very elaborate knee lift from an F5 position, and then a neck breaker. Chavo clotheslining Helms to the outside. Schiavone says this is what WCW has been about for the last year and a half, all the young talent. We've got a top rope sunset flip by Helms for a 2.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do a sunset flip from the top rope before, have you?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
He was really high in the air.
I quite like
Shane, counterproductive.
Helms, actually. I quite like him.
Me too. Yep.
We've got Chavo with a clothesline to take advantage again. Top rope high crossbody for a 2 by Helms. A T-bone suplex by Chavo for a 2. I assume when I say these slightly quizzically, I assume that's what the announcers called these things, and I've just written that down.
Nice.
We've got a double arm suplex with a bridge for a 2 by Chavo. Sunset flip attempt by Chavo, but Helms sits down on it for a 2.
That's right. I thought they were going to SummerSlam 92 finish. Right.
It did look like it. Tilt-a-whirl backbreaker by Helms.
Nice.
Helms with a nice kick, then shouts vertebreaker, but Chavo fights out. But we then have Helms executing the vertebreaker, this time to retain. I'm not sure how much I like the look of that move.
Yes.
Chavo tucked his head really, what felt like really late on, And I was
Too
looking
late.
at it thinking, yeah, that is a disaster waiting to happen, that move. I wonder if he kept doing it when he got to WWF.
So they told him, I don't know if it was Pritchard or they told him not to use the vertebraker, and he just did it anyway.
Oh,
Like on that show, they told him not to
they
use
did?
it to
Right.
finish the
Really?
match.
Oh.
I just did it anyway. It's
And
it's
he-
crazy.
He still ended up getting a job. Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. So yeah, he retains as your cruiserweight champion. Aside from the finishing move, I do quite like him. I think he's a good performer.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed the match.
Is he a producer now?
Yeah, I think so. I think he got let go during COVID times. You know, they did a bit of a. They got rid of a lot of people, but I don't know if he is anymore. But I think he maybe is. I think he maybe is back.
We've got a little promo here by Booker T. So if you were left in any doubt about his future employment, you're not going to be after this. He says this is the end of a chapter, but there are many pages left in the book. He says he's going to prove he's the best in the business, and if anyone wants to step to him, they're to come at his face. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Hate the game.
And, yeah. So I can see, he is actually. I think when they start bringing people in, you could maybe argue DDP. They're the two right at the top that are being brought in. I found it weird DDP wasn't on this show, but he's got a little video package later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Booker T. Yeah, 100% just ramming it down everyone's throat that he is going to be turning up on a WWF show pretty soon.
Do you think that's why Triple H took so long to go for the pin at WrestleMania 19?
Maybe, yeah.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it. We're back to Vince again.
Oh dear, here it is. Yeah. Here it is.
So Michael Cole comes into the room.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Quick update. Frosted Tips. Still Frosted Tips in March 2001.
We've got Cole asks about WCW job security, and Vince asks how Cole feels about his job security. Trish then says she loves when Vince is forceful. Vince says, "Cheers to being forceful." That's not good now.
I'm surprised they've never, they've done sort of they've done like the sort of George Lucas style edits of, sometimes you'll watch episodes are on, they've taken out the F when they're saying WWF and promos and stuff. I'm surprised they've never taken that out. Have you ever toasted to being forceful?
I've not. No.
Nah, it's a new one.
Never felt appropriate, I don't think.
Fair enough.
Yeah, in my life. But anyway, next up, we've got a tag team title match. Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo are going up against Lance Storm and Mike Awesome. My God, Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo. Vince must have watched this and thought, "Yep, sign them today, sign them right now."
Yeah.
They look like Vince's other wet dream. Aside from what else he's got going on. So we've got Lance Storm. He's got a microphone and he asks everyone to rise for the Canadian national anthem. And it plays. I don't know why. I didn't expect it to play when he was doing this. It did. Me
too.
I was always a big fan of Lance Storm. He's good in his unique way.
Tremendous in the ring.
Yeah. It's actually, you've got Mike Awesome there as well, who was very, very talented as well.
The Fat Chick Thriller. What was it? Is that his gimmick?
There was something like that, yeah. Not sure what happened to him in the immediate aftermath of this, whether he came across straight away. I couldn't remember.
Mike Awesome won the hardcore title. I think he was the first ever WCW. He just inserted himself in the middle of a hardcore match as part of the really early on.
Right, so he was there invasion. From the okay. A couple of very talented guys and a couple of incredible looking guys on the other side. we've got Schiavone getting a bit distracted at times as he's trying to announce this match, and he's just questioning the uncertainty, employees, people with families, mortgages to pay, and all that, and his co-announcer tries to drag him back to focus on the match. We've
Classic
got
Scott.
yeah, we've got I've got a few notes for this, but not a huge amount. Attempt at a roll up by Palumbo, drop kick by Storm. Sean O'Haire is in a side kick and a slam. Storm makes the save. Everyone's in at a point quite early on. It's a little bit of a feeling of carnage here. Again, none of these matches last a particularly long amount of time. But you can see the shape that the O'Haire and Palumbo are in. They can fly and move about as well pretty effectively. Always surprises me they didn't become bigger stars. Maybe just couldn't talk. Maybe that was the issue.
Excuse me. Sorry. Do you not remember Billy and Chuck?
I do remember Billy and Chuck. I remember one wedding angle or something like that.
And Rico.
Yeah. I remember all of it. Yeah.
They did do stuff with Sean O'Haire. They did like weird. He was like almost reminded. What was Don Callis's character called? Where he had like a third eye.
Oh.
the jackal or something weird like that.
Yeah.
They did that sort of thing with him, but they did like a reporter type gimmick with him as well.
Yeah. And did they try and put him with Roddy Piper as well for a time? I think so. And
wow,
I think,
that's
again,
like wow.
I think that was to try and get somebody who could talk along with him, basically.
Right.
So yeah, I think they maybe tried. Palumbo, I think, had a longer run, a more effective run. But yeah, very much a tag guy in the end. We've got Mike Awesome going for an awesome bomb. Palumbo wriggling out, kick to the face. O'Haire's up the top and hits what they call a Shanton bomb.
Oh dear.
For the pin win. So Palumbo and O'Haire retain. I assume they moved across on day one, and that's no surprise. Yeah, I think in fairness, I think we were both quite big fans of Mike Awesome. So there's quite a lot there that WWE probably liked the look of. I don't know did they bring in Lance Storm?
I think Storm and
Storm
Mahoney maybe kicked off the invasion.
Yeah, he's in the ring,
No,
isn't he? Straight away.
Mike
Storm.
What's that? What was that? What's the Hugh Morris? That's what
Morris.
Storm and Hugh Morris are the ones that
that's
kicked off the
yeah.
invasion.
Good worker, Lance Storm, and he has his way on the microphone, which I always found very entertaining.
And we did a pay-per-view where Team Canada were on it. I think that was 2002. Him and Christian were a tag team. They may have even been tag team champions.
Yeah.
I think that was the Austin Triple H 2 out of 3 Falls pay-per-view maybe.
Okay.
So he's
that sounds right.
Company for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's had behind-scenes roles as well. Quite highly thought of, I think. I'm not so high on this next segment that I'm going to be talking about here. We've got Sean Stasiak with Stacy Keibler and Bam Bam Bigelow. So the storyline for this is that Bam Bam says, we've got him saying, if he wins their match, he wants to tattoo that prissy little thing in the ring. Stasiak says that's fine. Stacy will do anything for him. Stacy does not look impressed at that comment. And Bam Bam says he means Stasiak, but that's the match set. So basically, if Bam Bam wins, he's going to get to tattoo Stasiak. Stasiak become meat, is that right?
Meat, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I think his dad was like quite a big wrestler back in the sort of territory days.
I think maybe his name comes up when people talk about trainers as well. I think he maybe trained quite a lot of talent.
He's so big, Stasiak. He's massive.
And he'd be another Vince.
Aye.
Yeah. Loved. I'm sure he loved Stacy as well. He would have loved the package. Yeah. Okay. So,
Lex Luger never came over, did he?
So Stacey comes out, teases taking off some clothes and dancing, but instead, no, she's just there to introduce Sean the Star Stacey-ack. Bam Bam comes out immediately, interrupting Stacey-ack's promo just as he's getting ready to deliver it. A little bit rude for Meat there.
I did not take a note of what Stacey-ack said, but I've just got on my notes. Meat cut a world-class promo.
I don't have that. I don't have that.
I remember Stacey-ack just being... He was on like every episode of Sunday Night Heat.
Mm-hmm. And there was always something like a bit buffoon-like. Like it just come across as a total idiot in every segment. Bit of a shame thinking about it, thinking back. So yeah, Bam Bam interrupts the promo, and he's got his tattoo kit with him. Sure, we're all.
He looks
thinking,
like complete shit.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
My bad. Sorry.
I'm sure we're all thinking he's got the kit, so Bam Bam's going to win this match. That's all fine. Stacey-ack playing the heel actually holds Stacey in front of him when Bam Bam enters the ring. I've got in my notes, looking at the state of Bam Bam, this has got 5-star written all over it. So I've clearly noticed what you did as well. I liked Bam Bam back in the day, but he looks so washed up here. It's not good.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Stacey-ack going for a dive off the top rope, but I've got written he comedy overshoots the onrushing Bam Bam. So he's maybe been playing this character for a wee while.
Planting the seeds for Vince. I like the look of that guy.
I've got Bam Bam doing the diving headbutt off the top, and I'm thinking this is it. This is the match. But Stacey's already on the apron, providing the distraction. Bam Bam gets Stacey-ack up for the greetings from Asbury Park move. But Stacey is still on the apron and reaches out, grabs Stacey-ack's legs, throws Bam Bam off his balance a little bit. Stacey-ack wriggles free, and wins with what I've got written as a glorified neck breaker.
Yeah. Yep. Reverse neck breaker. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's like winning with a body slam.
So
devastating.
Yeah, it just seems a bit nothing, but that's all it took to put Bam Bam away in this era, which is a shame.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, no tattoo for Stacey-ack, and I don't think Vince is on the phone to Bam Bam straight away, but you know, I assume he's already got Stacey-ack and Stacey. I shouldn't say tied up. That's where my words were going, but you know. So yeah. Where are we going next? Oh, yes.
William Regal.
William Regal. So we've got Regal and Vince basically promoting WrestleMania. And Regal is questioning why Vince has bought that dreadful place, WCW.
Bloody dreadful place.
He runs it down. We all know Regal's been there previously. I always like Regal when he's speaking. There's something funny about him. But yeah, I'm trying to remember the role he's playing. Is he like in a commissioner role?
Commissioner, right?
Yeah. Aye. So yeah, he's questioning whether this is definitely a good idea. But Vince sets his mind at ease. It's all fine. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, it just felt like it was there to run down WCW a bit, really.
That was it. Yeah.
We've got a promo now on a video. It's a video package from DDP, who is another one of the pretty high level stars that is going across straight away. We've got DDP on a video thanking all wrestling fans for allowing him to become DDP and helping him to make it. He thanks his wife Kimberly and WCW wrestling fans for believing in him, helping him realize his dream. He says, "Is that dream over?" and says it's time to take it to another level.
And you know what he means by that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what he means by that?
He's gonna get to go and be some creepy stalker.
That's what I was going to say. Taking it to the next level means stalking the Undertaker's wife.
I assume he probably didn't know that was going to happen at the time, but well, maybe he did. Who knows? Um, we've got like a video package after that with just some former WCW stars and champions. And
Oh,
then
and that reminds me, when Bischoff was on the phone the previous week, he kind of puts out there that any former WCW champion is welcome at next week's Nitro. Bring your boots, is what he says. And to be fair, if this is the final Nitro, you would kind of expect a Hogan, Nash, Goldberg. Here's a celebration. Flair, Sting, all of them.
everyone they've got under contract who's a huge name, you would expect
David
them to try and get
Arquette.
the show. Yeah, I don't know whether the WWF had any impact on that. Like, are they looking at it and saying, if we don't have these guys coming to us, we don't necessarily want to showcase them on this final show?
So apparently they didn't want to, from what I've read and heard, they didn't want to make a big thing of this final episode because they fully intended for there to be a Nitro the next week or, in subsequent weeks. So they didn't want it to be this big ceremonial thing. But looking back now, it's just, it's treated terribly.
It's treated so much less than everything that's going on the other shows. And to wrap it up this way, it felt like, I'm trying to remember the way you worded it. Did you say a slap in the face or something like that to the fans, the WCW fans? Yeah. I mean, if this is your show and these are your guys and you're seeing it basically be a vehicle for an advert for WrestleMania, basically, and all these Vince promos, like every segment there's a Vince promo.
It should be really emotional, and there's like no emotion in it. Maybe anger, anger and frustration.
We've got Vince on the phone again. Says it's just about that time, I think, indicating that the simulcast and talking about some of the talent and things like that is getting close. But first few things to deal with before then, we're going to go into the tag team cruiserweight title match. So this is Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman against Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo, but did they have slightly different names?
Elix Skipper was called Prime Time.
That's it, Prime Time.
I had to look him up because I was like, I think this guy might be called Eli Skipper, but then Elix Skipper.
So yeah, on the intro for this match, Schiavone is basically calling out Regal and he's calling him Steven Regal, which was his name in WCW, and said that they had to do some ridiculous things in the past, like put him over. Just Schiavone having a little go, which I think
apparently they're big mates.
Yeah, I'd heard that one of Schiavone's podcasts, I'd heard him mention they were actually pretty close. And I think you mentioned that Schiavone just do this off his own back, just decided to ignite a potential future little bit of storyline there. Once we get into the match, we've got Skipper and Romeo. What was it? Prime Time. That's what I should call him. That's what he's referred to as here. Prime Time and Romeo with some quick combinations. Romeo with a belly-to-belly throw on Kidman, and then he and Prime Time a bit of double teaming on Kidman. We've got Kidman with a crossbody for a 2. Prime Time sliding out like the Matrix. I think they say that on the commentary. Still, it looked quite impressive. We've got Romeo coming off the top, but Kidman catching him with a drop kick as he's on the way down. Mysterio gets the hot tag in, and we've got a tornado DDT on Romeo, but Skipper has Prime Time, whatever, makes the save. Mysterio takes Romeo out, and he and Kidman start double teaming Prime Time. We've got Ross's favourite move again. I didn't think we would see it on a WCW show. but Mysterio with a Bronco Buster on primetime.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was going on both shows. We've got Romeo sneaking in while Mysterio's having a wee moment of celebration. Doesn't last long, any advantage. Mysterio with a powerbomb on Romeo. Springboard headbutt off the top rope by Mysterio, but Primetime makes the save. Got Mysterio on Primetime's shoulders, but Primetime drops back for a pinning suplex attempt, but that's a 2. We've got Kidman with, I think they called it the Kid Crusher.
Oh dear, that's not a good name for anything.
Yeah, it reminded me of an Unprettier the movie was doing.
Oh yeah, yep.
And that's the pin win for Kidman and Mysterio. We have new champs, and both will become, again, WWE guys. I don't know if that belt ever came across, a cruiserweight tag belt.
Nah, I don't think so. And Mysterio must have sat out his contract, did he? He must have done, or did he go and wrestle in Mexico or something?
He definitely didn't move like next or straight away. I can't remember when he would have appeared. There was definitely a bit of a gap. He doesn't strike me as having a guy that would have had a contract that you would just sit on, but maybe. Always sort of associate it with the really highly paid top level guys.
I suppose it's get paid and rest, or get paid and wrestle.
And maybe when you're his style, maybe rest is going to do you quite a lot of good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he may well have wrestled somewhere else as well while he was before joining WWE. Obviously had a huge career once he made the move across.
What about Kid Romeo? Did he ever get picked up? Do you know?
It wasn't a name that rang a bell for me. I didn't look him up when I was looking into this, I have to admit.
He looks like he would struggle to get past the wellness policies.
Yeah, I think so.
Was my
We'll move on to a promo from Sting. He is here. He answers the challenge from Ric Flair. He says he wouldn't miss this final show. He says in terms of his future, nothing is for sure, but it says it's showtime, folks. So obviously this is a guy that did not make the move for a very, very long time. Eventually showed up in WWE. I want to say that's only probably about 5-6 years ago or something like that.
5-6 years ago now.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Oh
yeah.
dear, Adam. You're probably right actually, because I'd be about
miles off.
WrestleMania 31.
That's about
was Triple H Sting. Aye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I know he goes to TNA for a while. I know that he will have had a very nice contract that he could sit out off the back of this. There's part of me that wishes he'd never actually gone to WWE because he basically would have been the only top level guy that just never ever went, which I don't know, would have been kind of cool in its own way.
Michael Cole could have never shouted "The war is over."
And I think maybe if he'd known that someone like AEW was on the horizon, maybe he never would have actually made the move. But yeah, so we must be getting close to simulcast time, but we've got one more match we're going to have before we get there. Sting against Ric Flair, I think quite an appropriate final match to have on a Nitro.
Yep. First ever. Did it close the first ever Nitro?
I think that's right. Yeah. Which just feels like a nice bookends. Part of the reason why I think this maybe they could have found a way for this to end it, but they have to have their bombshell storyline moment, obviously, because it's WWE and they've got WrestleMania tickets to sell. So we've got Sting he's actually talked about on the entrances as the guy that never made the jump when there was a hell of a lot of money available. Even Ric Flair made the jump, which they do reference. They both get pretty positive crowd reactions for the crowd that's there. It's as you said earlier, not the most invested crowd you've ever heard.
Look, it's the Ultimate Warrior.
You you mentioned earlier about Ric Flair and he's wearing a Nitro T-shirt for this match. So he actually wrestles the match in a T-shirt. Now, my memory of it was he wasn't happy with the shape he was in. Is that
Correct.
the situation?
Yep.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to basically look bad in this. So he's going to wear a T-shirt, which just looks really weird. Ric Flair in a match wearing a T-shirt.
Like how bad shape could he be in to look worse than wrestling with a T-shirt tucked into his pants?
Yeah. We've got, there's they talk about and they show a bit of respect between the two, but then we're starting with the chops. Flair with chops in the corner, but Sting reverses it and hits a flurry of his own. I think, we sort of know, we hear some storyline about the fact that Ric Flair made Sting. I've definitely seen bits of and heard bits of when Sting was just coming through, Ric Flair just massively building him and putting him over and going hour-long draws and then him getting the win and things like that and helping make him as the huge star that he became. There's some classic Ric Flair moments in here. We've got him doing his strutting early on. We've got him doing his sort of faceplant fall at a point. We've got him doing some like begging off when Sting's got him in the corner. So there's some, I suppose, people who are invested in this want to see things like that. That's that's the Ric Flair style.
Yeah, that's what this match felt like to me. It's a bit fan service.
Yeah,
a bit of fun. A good send off. Oh, perfect sort of send off actually.
Almost like some of the stuff they would maybe do in a house show when cameras weren't rolling. That's it kind of had that feel to it. We've got Sting with a kick and a drop kick. We've got he's got a lot of the offheads going here. Sting for a lot of the match. We've got him doing his gorilla press slam. We've got Sting. I think it's when Ric Flair does his sort of fall onto the mat. Sting actually takes a little bow and does his own woo. We've got Sting has Flair by the throat, and Flair, dirtiest player in the game, hits a low blow to take a little bit of control. We've got some chops by Flair and then a knee drop. Flair, he goes to the top turnbuckle. Takes an awful long time to get up there. What's he even going to do once he's up there?
Land on his side.
Yeah. Sting's up, catches him, throws him off. Got Sting with a clothesline. Goes for a drop kick, but as he's propelled Flair off the ropes, Flair holds the rope. Sting hits the mat. Flair locks in the figure four. So he's got the figure four in. He's playing a bit heel here. He's using the ropes for leverage. Sting turns it. As we know, that reverses the pressure. That's putting all the pressure on Nate here now. Chops by Flair, but they're having no impact as Sting's kind of doing his own version of hulking up. I can't remember what it would have been referred to in Sting terms, referred to as. Sting, that's another classic sort of Flair moment. Sting throws Flair into the ropes and he sort of turns upside down.
He doesn't execute that one very well.
Yeah, doesn't quite
it's a T-shirt.
have the energy to do that these days. Sting with a suplex on Flair, and then he locks in the Scorpion Deathlock, and Flair submits, and so Sting has won the last ever wrestling match on Nitro.
There's a wee trivia answer for you at some point.
Yeah, we get a sort of feel good moment. They embrace, they sort of celebrate together. They've obviously wrestled each other a hell of a lot of times over the years. I think this is where the announcers are selling that, Sting has this appreciation for Flair. He knows what he did for him all those years ago, helping him become a star. So, yeah, nice moment, I think. But unfortunately, we're not done, I would say. I just didn't like this because, you know, it's a WCW show. It's their last show. And this is how it's going to end and go out. But here we go. So, Vince McMahon is out in the Raw ring, and we know that this is being simulcast. He is strutting like he's never strutted before. Heyman is on announce duties with JR, and quite a bit of sucking up Heyman's doing towards Vince here, which is quite funny, positioning it with where we're just about to go with the invasion angle. So Vince is talking about, you know, for the first time ever, this is also being shown on the Turner Network. Vince confirms he has acquired WCW. He has bought his competition. We have the little wrinkle of it's not exactly final, but as Time Warner are begging him to buy WCW, he has agreed to do it. However, he wants to sign the contract at WrestleMania on pay-per-view. He says he will sign the contract when Ted Turner himself walks down the aisle at WrestleMania and delivers the contract to Vince. He's laying it on pretty thick now. Vince says people ask how he did this. Vince says the truth is he did it all on his own. It was his effort and his money. And people ask, how do you beat a billionaire? Well, the way you beat a billionaire is you become one yourself. Vince says he wants Ted Turner to see what he will do to Shane, which is you have to grab your competition by the throat and squeeze the life out of them. That's what he did to WCW, and that's what he is going to do to Shane. He's quite long-winded in hyping this this match that's coming up at WrestleMania. Vince then talks about what he's going to do with WCW and says he wants a little bit of fan reaction. He's going to do thumbs up, thumbs down, and, you know, take account of how they react, although clearly he's not going to take any account of that. Talks about the possibility of putting WCW on the shelf. Talks about how he might just sit and watch all the old WCW tapes and does a bit of mocking of Hulk Hogan there while he's doing that.
Yep.
Vince says he could take WCW and make it a huge media conglomerate, just like he did with WWE. He says they know how to do that. But for now, he wants fan reaction to certain stars. First one he asked about is Hulk Hogan, and I was a little bit surprised. And, you know, when he eventually comes in, he has the match with Rock, and he's a massive baby face that's getting a brilliant reaction. They're a little bit lukewarm in the reaction, kind of some cheers and some boos for
It's
Hogan.
because he asks. It's because he does thumbs up, thumbs down, and they just cheer for both.
Yeah, they did. I don't think
really odd way to get crowd reaction.
That there is a negative reaction for Lex Luger. There is a positive
really?
reaction for
Lex.
There's a positive reaction for Buff Bagwell.
Bagwell, yep. I think even Vince says, a lot for Bagwell.
Probably wasn't expecting that. Get a good reaction for Booker T and for Big Papa Pump.
Yep.
There's a Goldberg chant breaking out. And Vince kind of relents and says, I'll ask about a couple more then. But then he asks about Sting. And there's a good reaction for Sting. And then he asks about Goldberg. And that's clearly the one the fans are most invested in at that moment. I think there'd always been the hope you would see a Austin and Goldberg program some point down the line. Vince says he could line up all the WCW stars, look them in the face, and say, "You're fired."
Nice.
Gave it a go. Vince says that is what's going to happen because he is going to put WCW on the shelf. He's going to bury it. He says, every single one of you will be buried. Now, that turns out to be true. Every talent that goes across basically does end up getting buried, but in a slightly different way. There's an asshole chant starting up by the crowd, and Vince says, I deserve more respect, damn it, I'm Vince McMahon. And then we've got Shane's music starting up. Shane doesn't appear on the ramp, but does appear on the Titantron. He's at Panama City. He's at Nitro. So Vince, despite this being really obvious in the visual of what you're saying, it's like he looks confused. Shane, where are you? Shane says, "I'm here in Panama City, Beach, Florida, standing in a WCW ring." Shane says Vince ego got the best of him, wanting to sign the contract at WrestleMania with Ted Turner there. Shane says the deal is finalized and the name on the contract does say McMahon, but it says Shane McMahon. Vince says he now owns WCW. Vince says just like WCW kicked Vince's ass in the past, and it will again, that is what's going to happen this Sunday at WrestleMania. Vince sells the shock, does his very best to sell it. Yeah, that's basically it. That's us.
And Schiavone, you've recapped that incredibly well. Schiavone doesn't even get a chance to sign off.
Yeah.
You know, they go off after Flair Sting, and we go into JR and Heyman, like you said. I would like to remain, because it's a simulcast, you couldn't have. I'd love to have heard what Schiavone would have been saying in response to everything Vince was saying, because Schiavone was on fire for this episode, which is a little bit of a shame. What a shitty way. I mean, that is like gold dust to, not the androgynous type, but that is like gold dust to them, to being able to do that. Like you said, it's the Raw before, it's the Go Home Raw. They've still got SmackDown, I think, at that point, but it's the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania 17. Yeah. They must just have been in heaven as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
But from a WCW's fan perspective, what a way to disrespectfully treat almost, like an arguably superior wrestling, certainly historically wrestling company.
Yeah, it's brutal, because don't get me wrong, I get it from a business standpoint. I totally get it. They're doing what they feel is best for them to sell tickets. I get it. But this is the end, and like you said earlier, that they maybe don't quite view it that way, because their original plan is to resurrect it and have it going, potentially on a different network. Whatever Raw is right now, I think was going to be branded as a WCW show. That's kind of what was talked about for a while. But for everyone that's working there, obviously you've got wrestlers, can't take all of them. You've got announcers. Well, they've already got announcers. You've got crew that work there and do various jobs. They've already got theirs. Do they need these guys? Do they want them? Blah, blah, blah. These guys don't know. And for the fans that were diehard fans, and this was their show and their show that they watched throughout all those years, it's just such a... Here's what it is, Taz. It's a tiny little element of a storyline for what we're running over here. And that's all it is. And this is your sign-off, but it's not your sign-off, because we need this over here now. And yeah, it felt so cold.
Aye, 100%. 100%. It's quite horrible. And I think they even plugged Raw. I think they plugged the main event of Raw, Rock and Austin via Kane and Undertaker, which I believe they were asked not to do, and they just did it anyway as well.
Yeah, because if you're the TV network, you don't want them changing channel and going over there, which I imagine most wrestling fans were doing anyway. When the shows don't finish at the same time, they'll flip over. But yeah, so a few things I had noted after it was the WWF officials apparently telling talent plan was WCW will have its own show, you'll get your opportunity type thing. Original plan, make Raw a WCW show, and I know that's been said. I always find it really surprising, because Raw at the time was the flagship. Not like nowadays. It's totally changed. At that time, I don't think there was any doubt Raw was the flagship show. WCW did get I think it was just a main event. I don't think they got a chunk of the show. I think it was basically a match, which the crowd didn't massively buy into. Some talents would join immediately. The Booker T, DDP, Palumbo and O'Hare, Meat, I think. But yeah, a lot of top tier WCW contracts were guaranteed, which meant that guys like Hogan, Nash, Hall, Goldberg, Sting, they would be sitting at home getting paid. And like you touched on earlier, why would you not? I suppose if you're going to get more money, maybe to move across, but then from WWE's point of view, it's a matter of time before those contracts run down, and then you're kind of the only game in town at that level. So I think they always knew they could wait it out, but then if you knew you could wait it out for the top talent, having the invasion angle when you didn't really make sense. But yeah, so that's it. That's Nitro. That's the end.
Yep, and I think we've probably said this a number of times, talk about different times within the industry or across the wrestling timelines, but probably the most significant thing happening in wrestling, since the death of territories, possibly. It's such a ripple in time if we were to ever look at the possibilities of what things might have looked like if they hadn't done this, if Bischoff's company consortium had bought them, if they hadn't done that angle and had quietly purchased them and continued it.
Yeah.
And I get they didn't have the TV deal, but they got WWECW on Sci-Fi.
True. And I suppose if you go out to TV networks and you're Vince McMahon and you have these incredibly highly rated shows that you're already producing, you could, to an okay extent, get meetings and talk deals and probably get a pretty good deal.
Sure.
If you're saying, well, we've got this other show, this is what's happening, we're not going to reference this on screen because we, have plans for future, and then you could have had The Rock turning up on a WCW show or something like that. And, imagine that out of the blue. Imagine that when you didn't know it was coming.
I know. That's it. It's exactly it. Keep it looking, make your tweaks. If there's things that you want to change, but make it look the exact same, and you've got you've not got ratings, but you've probably got moments, like what you're saying. The Rock turns up on Nitro, and they just pissed about with the belts and basically devalue. I think The Rock was the last ever WCW champion.
That's right. Yeah.
It's shitty.
Yeah, it's a shame, and having that competition, and obviously at this point it was pretty weak. It had been weakened. It had been getting destroyed in the ratings, but it was real competition. At least it was someone that you could look at and think, well, we've got to beat them, or we've got to do better than them, or they've upped their game, so we've got to up ours. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, I think the WCW just come off a pay-per-view Greed. Maybe. Yeah. Apparently, what you said that Schiavone had said that they've been focused on younger talent. I think the fact that your main event here, Steiner v Booker T, sort of shows a bit of evidence of that they were highlighting the right people. Whereas when we were watching it in 1998, it was just like Hogan and pals sort of thing. Aye. So apparently it was felt that round about this time they were getting back on track with actually putting on quite a decent product.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
It does make you think, because there's all these years coming up after, and TNA does turn up, but it's not real competition. It's very much secondary. Whereas in this battle, the lead changed hands a couple of times. It was real, and across both of them, there were a hell of a lot of people watching wrestling.
Yeah, and there was a bit of a an explosion of indies. Probably later 2000s maybe.
Yeah.
Like you can argue that without this happening, you don't have that. You don't have Ring of Honor, and all the other sort of smaller independent shows and organizations. You don't have NXT, you don't have AEW, you don't have, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not currently overly invested in the existing product. I might get there. I get the impression you're a few steps ahead of me in terms of enthusiasm and things like that, and maybe it'll get there. I think I'm still in the mindset where I expect it to be bad until I watch it, and it's not. If that makes sense, and I've just not been watching. So, yeah, but it's I got so used to it being bad, but I think a lack of competition is part of that. You can get lazy, you've got your long TV deal. Does it matter if every segment looks amazing when there's nothing on the other channel? But I think there is hope that I think WWE will probably have a bit of a revival. It feels like it already. It feels like it's a fresh start almost. But I kind of hope that AEW can sort out whatever shit needs to be sorted out and be a viable other product, because things are better when you've got two. I fully believe things are better if two are thriving, then the whole landscape looks better.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Forces everybody to up their game, doesn't it? Yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode, and it's obviously historic as far as everyone's concerned. And it's crazy to think that they would just go almost straight into what is argued to be their best ever WrestleMania. Like a week after.
Yeah, crazy.
What a crazy time. Absolutely.
Okay.
I was going to mention two things. I was going to mention. So the Road Dogg had apparently been fired from WWF around about this time. I think due to his lifestyle, and he had showed up. I think his brother was maybe working a referee capacity.
Yeah, I think that's right.
He showed up looking for a job on that night. It was absolute class.
Oh, poor Road Dogg.
You just imagine him walking in and being like, "Oh shit!" I'm just walking straight back out.
Walks in, sees Shane, sees Bruce Pritchard, sees Briscoe. It's like, this ain't happening for me.
I'm out. And DDP apparently was quite good buddies with Bischoff, and he was a little bit torn between hoping for his friend that this deal went through, and hoping from his own point of view that it didn't go through because he really wanted a shot at WWE.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
which is quite funny, and the type of character he seems to be. You can imagine him being genuinely torn between those two things.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
I'm sure if he was to go back now, he would probably hope that the Bischoff deal went through.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's coming when he's hoping for WWE, does he? He's done all right. He's
he's a Hall of Famer, isn't he?
Yeah. He's done absolutely fine.
Imagine that the unveiling of the higher power had come after they'd acquired WCW. They could have Bischoff be the higher power.
That could have been, yeah. I mean, the possibilities that would have opened up. I mean, there's so many names that you can think of that would have been far more interesting than Vince.
Or Christopher Daniels.
Yeah.
So, good choice. Good choice.
Good for some ways. Quite frustrating to watch in other ways, but yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it does. It definitely gets you thinking. So yeah, will I go to where I'm going?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Well, I've shared with you already, so you know. I need to look up. So I was torn. I'll tell you what I was torn between. Oh shit! I'm gonna have to look it up. It was a 1992 WCW pay-per-view. So hold on 2 seconds and I'll look it up. And it was a little bit too close. I think it's got a half an hour Iron Man match on it.
All right, okay.
So that kind of put the kibosh on that. Let me see. WCW Beach Blast 1992 was what I originally thought. So I'll talk you through the card. It's a bit like, here's what you could have won. Apologies. So, Flying Brian, easy for me to say, Flying Brian Pillman versus Scotty Flamingo.
Oh, Raven.
No, he was. Is it?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Was he really called Scotty? Are you joking?
No.
Amazing. He was called Scotty Flamingo and Raven.
Yep.
That's brilliant. Ron Simmons versus Terence Taylor.
Jesus.
Farouk versus the Red Rooster. Greg Valentine versus Marcus Alexander Bagwell. You're sitting here thinking, thank God he's not picked this. A Falls Count Anywhere match, Cactus Jack versus Sting. Now, this is what reminds me of this, because at this point, Bill Watts had taken control of the creative at WCW, and he wants everything to be like a shoot. His whole thing was like, wrestling needs to, treat it like it's a real thing. And he'd taken all the soft mats from around the ring. So the Cactus Jack Sting match, the Falls Count Anywhere match, but it's concrete surrounding the ring. You can imagine what Foley gets up to.
Yeah.
A 30-minute Iron Man match, Rick Rude versus Ricky Steamboat.
Okay.
A 6-man tag team match, Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, and Nikita Koloff versus the Dangerous Alliance with Paulie Dangerously.
Nice.
So that's Arn Anderson, Steve Austin, and Beautiful Bobby, which is one of the Midnight Express, isn't it? Eaton, aye, that's it. I feel like I'm missing a match here, but I don't see it in the Steiners versus Steve Williams and Terry Gordy.
Okay.
Okay. That is what I was thinking, but it's missing a match that I thought was on it. Some sort of bunkhouse match.
Okay.
Does that ring any bells for you?
Bunkhouse Stampede. That was a show, wasn't it? Yeah, there was bunkhouse matches and what's his name? Dusty Rhodes. I think won like every bunkhouse match.
Right. Oh well. So yeah, here's what you could have won. But yeah, like I say, it was just by coincidence I came across that. I thought it looked good, but then we've just done an Iron Man match. So.
And you would have had to pick WrestleMania 12 after that just to be that guy that always picks the Iron Man match. Yeah.
Just love long matches. So instead, I'm not picking a pay-per-view. I'm picking a documentary instead. It is a long one, almost 3 hours worth of documentary that you can find on YouTube. It's called The Heroes of World Class Championship Wrestling. Sort of centers around clearly the World Class Championship Wrestling territory set in Dallas, run by the Von Erichs. I think from what I can gather, it touches on some of the characters that came through the territory, and also concentrates on the sort of tragedy around the Von Erich family and all that entails. So I'm not going into too much detail about that just now. We can watch it and then chat through it next time.
Good. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Might not be a laugh riot, but
nah. How much of the Von Erichs? There's an episode Dark Side of the Ring about them, isn't there?
Yeah, I've seen that, and I think it prompted me to read up a little bit, just on the family and things like that. Horrible story, really, but yeah, interesting one though. Yeah, just very, very sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy story. I believe they're making a movie about them, about the family. I'm sure I read Zac Efron's attached to play one of them.
Okay.
Hopefully, surely not a Texas Tornado. What if they got Michael Cera to play him? And then now all I'm thinking is Michael Cera slapping Rihanna's ass.
Oh, brilliant.
Kerry Von Erich slapping Rihanna's. So we'll chat that through next time. Aye. Until then, we'll need to. I think we're going to need to feel like uplifted. It could be like a really just like, oh, and then somebody else died from their family.
A lot of thought into whatever my pick is next, because we need to summon a wee bit uplifted.
Like the best of Doink and Dink or something like
that. No.
Right. Well, I really enjoyed that episode, Nitro, and we will chat next time with our very somber voices on. Hit us up on Instagram at Outlaws Pod with any suggestions for things Adam should wear in future.
Oh, nothing too kinky.
Okay. And if you've got any opinions on things we should watch, any recommendations, we would love to hear them. As long as it's not Beach Blast 1992, because we've just ascertained that sounded a bit shit. Anywho, until the next time, Adam, take it easy.
Cheers.
Speak to you soon.